When we look historically at the TV ecosystem, performance marketing has always played a large role. So when we think about the history, direct response TV was typically done by looking at low-rated or zero-rated TV spots and using a very high frequency to achieve a level of response, sometimes even through unique phone numbers and techniques like that. Now, when we think about streaming, clearly that's evolved a lot, and there's a couple of things that are at the core of that. The first of those is obviously a complete change in consumer behavior. So, a massive increase in the amount of viewing that's taking place through digitally enabled channels means that there's a much larger opportunity to find those audiences and to use data in your approach to getting performance out of television advertising. The second thing is the data itself. So look, this is a digitally enabled device, and so ultimately you can use the data that's available to drive performance, whether it's leads, whether it's some kind of brand performance, or whether it's sales itself.
Yeah, data has a key role. What is the level of adoption or sophistication on the part of advertisers for using data in their campaigns now?
So certainly data is becoming a really foundational part of performance advertising for television, particularly in the streaming era. So you see advertisers using first-party data, so their own data to contact their own customers. You also see them combining that with third-party data from companies like Nielsen, companies like Comscore, again, allowing you to have different techniques to achieve different goals. So we're seeing a massive increase in the amount of data being used. Now, there's also novel data sets which have only been available since the dawn of streaming. So I'm thinking about things like ACR data, automated content recognition. And what that allows you to do is to find those incremental audiences and target those people who either haven't been exposed to the ad on traditional linear television, or who you want to see that ad again to drive further performance. That's another type of data that's being used. The third type, which I'd also mention, is clearly IP-based targeting. So geography, being able to target people in specific areas is really important, in particular for small and medium-sized advertisers, some of whom have not typically participated in the TV ecosystem because of the costs of entry, are now able to target people in very specific geos. Again, this has been happening for some time, particularly in addressable TV, often powered by television platform operators. And they've seen a lot of success with it. So, I'd use one statistic from Sky AdSmart, who see, I think, 70% of advertisers returning for a further campaign because of the upswing in performance that they see. So I think that kind of demonstrates the power of these data sets in being able to drive a better outcome for television advertisers.
Yeah, interesting. And TV didn't used to have these capabilities. It used to be primarily a branding vehicle. These days, it can be used for both branding and performance. What's the relationship between those two goals for a marketer?
I think it's true that the lines between brand awareness and performance are starting to blur, particularly in streaming TV. And I think the reason for that is that you can use tailored creative to drive performance whilst also being able to focus on getting the reach you need to increase brand awareness. Things like AI tools make it much easier for small and medium-sized advertisers to be able to have very specific creatives targeted at very specific audiences who might have certain preferences or certain habits that would allow them to drive an outcome, as well as thinking more broadly about the brand awareness that they're able to get from television advertising on the whole.
Lots for a brand to think about. So what's the secret to a successful campaign?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Look, first and foremost, you've got to set clear goals. So, what are you trying to achieve from this campaign? Is it site visits? Is it leads? Is it sales itself? And then you've got to tailor your creative effectively to get there. The creative itself is obviously crucially important and always has been in a television environment where you're able to get that sight, sound and motion, so the emotional bond that's driven by the creative itself, but ensuring that that creative is tailored very specifically to the audience that you're trying to reach. And on that note, understanding the audience is obviously crucial, and understanding the niches within those audiences and making sure, again, that you're thinking about those things with respect to the goal that you're trying to achieve. Yeah. And I think the final thing that I would just say is that, what's important is that you continue to test and continue to experiment until you find the right balance that is able to deliver the outcome that you're looking for.